This is the amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm putting this up here for a reason. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, if you look underneath there are no subparagraphs A, B, C, D that would stipulate what a necessary infringement would be. Therefore, there are no infringements allowed. They are forbidden to piss around with it. Now, I'll tell you what, when they wrote the Constitution, they expressed themselves in the terms of the common law, confident that they would be shortly and easily understood by every American. The language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law in the British institutions they were when this instrument was framed and adopted. On every question of the Constitution, you got to carry yourself back to when the Constitution was adopted. Recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying what meaning can be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, just confirm to the probable one which was passed. What the Second Amendment says is that they are constitutionally barred from infringing upon your rights. Now, it's not only just for the federal government, but if you go to Amendment 14, you'll find out the states have to follow the same laws. Now, some of these nitwits in D.C., these so-called constitutional lawyers, are not constitutional lawyers. They went to school, and they didn't study the Constitution. What they did was study case law. They studied what other judges said about the Constitution, thus making that judge that wrote that thing that they're studying, made him the law and not the Constitution. If you want to study the original intent of the Constitution, you've got to go back and look at the Federalist Papers. They're not doing that. They're lumping everything under case law. Now, up here, there's Article 1, Section 8. This is what Congress is allowed to do. This is, shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imports, so on and so forth, okay? To borrow money, to regulate commerce with foreign nations, among them, okay? But it has nothing to say, it doesn't say a doggone thing about interstate commerce. One of those federal or Supreme Court judges back in 1825 or something like that said, well, interstate commerce, we'll give them that power. Well, they're not given that power in the Constitution, so how can the Supreme Court give them more power than they don't have? To establish a uniform rule of naturalization, to coin money, to provide punishment of counterfeiting, establish post office and post roads, to promote science, useful arts, to consult tribunals, to defer and punish pirates and felonies committed, to declare war, letters of marque and reprisal, to raise and support armies, to provide and maintain a navy, to make rules for government and regulations of the land, to provide for the calling forth of the militia to execute the laws of the land of the Union, to provide for organized army and discipline the militia, to exercise the exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever, the districts and all that good stuff. See, that's 17 of them. 18. To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers. That means all these ones that are listed, they don't have any more powers than that. They cannot stick firearm laws under the Commerce Clause. They have no constitutional authority to pass any kind of firearm laws. So there's 18 articles or 18 things in there that Congress can do. Then they have to stay within those certain areas, within those 18 areas. They have nothing. They can only pass laws that are necessary and proper for carrying out the execution of the foregoing powers. It means they are stuck with the ones they got. They cannot create any more. And they're trying to give themselves more power than they ever had, and that's not what the Constitution says. The Second Amendment to our federal Constitution recognizes that the God-given right to keep and bear arms shall be free from any interference whatsoever from the federal government. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere granted authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns or ammunition. Thus, all restrictive laws made by Congress, all regulations made by the BATF, are unconstitutional as outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restrictions of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers granted or delegated to Congress or to the executive branch. Now, we've paid money to the NRA, the Gun Owners of America, and everything else, and this is not brought to the attention of the Supreme Court. Why don't they ask the Supreme Court? Where does government get the authority or the power to infringe upon the Second Amendment? Where do the states get the power to do the same thing? Both are constitutionally barred from infringing upon the right to keep and bear arms. Every person here has the right to defend themselves. That's a natural right. Even a so-called felon that got out of jail and did his time, his rights should be automatically restored. I don't give a shit what the hell FDR said. I don't care what the hell the Supreme Court says. You have that right. If you haven't killed somebody, how can they deny you rights that you went in, you paid your dues, you get out. All your rights should be automatically restored from the day that you were turned loose. Because if you're good enough to be turned loose, you're good enough to have your rights back. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Do not believe what the hell they're trying to tell us about the Second Amendment or about rights. We have rights, we know what the rights are, and lawyers out there, get on the ball, get off of your ass, and do the necessary things. Look into the original intent of the Constitution and bring that up. It's called the Federalist Papers. And you'll find out that, like this Commerce Clause that they're talking about, that was only put in there on purpose so that the states couldn't add taxes and tariffs onto something that somebody else has added on. So that by the time it got out, say it left the East Coast and went to the West Coast, by the time it got out there, instead of being $1, it cost them $1 million. That's all the Commerce Clause was. So where does Congress get the power to pass firearm laws or ammunition laws? Is what we have here is Congress is appropriating state police powers under the guise of regulating commerce. You know, that Commerce Clause is not a grant of general police powers. Period. Okay guys, I'm ranted enough today. Thanks for watching.